What's up, Warriors fans? We're back with another video, and today's story might not be directly about Golden State, but trust me, this one's got a lot to do with one of the most talked about voices on the team. Draymond Green just dropped some serious thoughts about what's happening over in Memphis, and if you've been following the MORANT situation, you'll want to hear this. So buckle up, because this is one of those stories that really shows how much goes on behind the scenes in the NBA. The Memphis Grizzlies have been in the headlines again, and not for the right reasons. Their superstar guard, Morant, has been suspended by the organization for what they called conduct detrimental to the team. That phrase alone sounds heavy, right? It came right after a frustrating loss to the Los Angeles Lakers, where Morant looked completely out of rhythm. He played about 30 minutes, but he was almost invisible on the court, scoring only 8 points, hardly creating plays, and just not looking like the same explosive player we've come to expect. The energy, the aggression, the spark, it just wasn't there. Now, what really raised eyebrows was what happened after the game. Reporters wanted to know what was wrong. Was he injured? Was he sick? Was something happening off the court? But instead of giving a typical answer, Ja just brushed off the questions, saying something like, "Ask the coaching staff about it." That one sentence set off alarms everywhere. It sounded like there was some serious tension behind the scenes, and apparently, Draymond Green saw it before anyone else did. In his latest podcast episode, Draymond revealed that during that very same game, he already felt something was off with Ja. He said it wasn't just an off night. It was like the guy wasn't even mentally there. Draymond explained that right after the game, when the Warriors were on their team plane, he turned to Steph Curry and said, "Man, Ja ain't it at all. It's like something happened." That's not Ja, according to Draymond. Steph looked back and joked, "Quiet protest going on." Huh. And Draymond replied, "That's exactly what it looked like." And honestly, if you go back and watch that game, it kind of makes sense. Ja wasn't driving into the paint like he usually does. He wasn't hyping up his teammates. No smiles, no fire. He was handing the ball off to other players, standing in the corner, almost like he didn't even want to be involved. For a guy who's known for his energy and swagger, that kind of body language says a lot. Draymond's perspective carries weight because he's been in those tough locker room situations himself. He knows what it's like when there's internal tension, when something's not clicking between the players and the staff. He's lived through that. And the fact that he immediately noticed Ja's body language and energy level changing just shows how in tune he is with what's happening across the league. When you think about it, this isn't the first time Ja's name has been surrounded by controversy, but this one feels different. It's not about off-court behavior or league discipline. It's about something deeper. It's about a disconnect between a star and his organization. Draymond hinted that Ja's suspension might have been the result of growing frustration on both sides, something that finally reached a breaking point. Now, for those who don't know, the Grizzlies said the suspension was for conduct detrimental to the team, but that's such a broad phrase. It could mean anything: disrespect, a disagreement with the coaching staff, or just not giving maximum effort. Whatever it was, it clearly wasn't just about one game. Teams don't bench their best player for nothing, especially not someone who's supposed to be the face of the franchise. Draymond went on to say something that really stood out. He admitted he's not a big fan of suspending star players. He said, "As someone who's been suspended myself, I don't think it really does much except make the player angrier." And that's classic Draymond, always brutally honest. He knows that when you suspend your top guy, you're not just punishing him, you're shaking the chemistry of the entire team. Because let's be real, if the best player is unhappy, the whole locker room feels it. And Draymond's not speaking from theory here. He's lived it. Remember back in 2022, when the Warriors had to suspend him after that heated incident with Jordan Poole during practice? That was a tough moment for Golden State, but they eventually moved past it. Draymond served his punishment, made amends, and helped the team get back on track. But he's the first to admit that being suspended by your own organization leaves a lasting sting. It messes with the trust, with the chemistry, and sometimes there's no easy way back from that. That's exactly what he was warning about when talking about Ja's situation. The Grizzlies might be trying to set a standard to show accountability, but in the process, they risk alienating their star. Draymond said, "When you're talking about your most important player and you suspend that guy, there's always a chance there's no coming back from that." And he's absolutely right. Every NBA locker room is built on trust between players, coaches, and management. Once that's broken, it's almost impossible to fix completely. Now, with this whole thing blowing up, rumors are already starting to swirl around Ja's future. Several teams are reportedly keeping an eye on the situation, just waiting to see how things unfold. And you can't blame them. A talent like Morant doesn't come around often. When he's locked in, he's one of the most electrifying players in the league. But if the relationship between him and the Grizzlies is really fractured, it could open the door for something much bigger down the line. Draymond didn't say whether he thought a trade would happen, but his tone made it clear he doesn't see this ending neatly. He knows how pride, ego, and frustration can complicate things fast in the NBA. He also understands that when a star starts to mentally check out, it's usually not long before big changes follow. It's kind of wild to think that this conversation started just because of a few post-game comments. But that's how fragile team dynamics can be. One disagreement, one misunderstanding, one moment of bad communication, and suddenly the franchise is in chaos. The fact that Draymond, who's all the way in Golden State, could sense that something was wrong in Memphis just by watching the game tells you everything you need to know. There was clearly more going on behind the curtain than anyone realized. Ja's body language, his tone, the way he distanced himself from his teammates, all of that painted the picture of a player who's at odds with his team's direction. Maybe he's frustrated with how things are being handled, maybe he feels unheard, or maybe he's just tired of the constant pressure that comes with being the guy. Whatever it is, it's not something that gets fixed overnight. And here's where it gets really interesting. Draymond knows this type of situation better than most. He's seen how tension between stars and management can either destroy a team or force it to evolve. His point was clear: punishing your superstar doesn't always fix the problem. Sometimes it just makes it worse. When a player like Ja feels disconnected, suspending him might not bring discipline. It might just push him further away. That's the kind of insight you only get from someone who's been through it. Draymond's not trying to take sides, but he's been the guy who's made mistakes, who's been suspended, who's had to rebuild trust. He's also seen what happens when communication breaks down. And in his eyes, what's happening in Memphis feels like a red flag for something bigger brewing beneath the surface. And you can tell this situation hit a nerve with him. Draymond said he could practically feel that something wasn't right the moment he saw Ja's post-game comments. It wasn't about statistics or a bad shooting night. It was about a vibe, a tension you could sense just from his expression and tone. Draymond said it confirmed everything he'd already felt watching that game live. And if a guy like him who's been around the league for over a decade can sense that energy shift from miles away, you know it's serious. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about one suspension or one argument. It's about a superstar who might be growing frustrated with how things are being run and a team trying to figure out how to handle it without losing him completely. And this is where the situation starts to get even more complicated. Because suspending a player like Ja Morant isn't just about a single game. It's about signaling to the entire league, to teammates, and to fans what kind of accountability is expected, but it also sends a very clear message to the player himself. Draymond Green explained this better than anyone, noting that when you suspend your top guy, it's not a small action. It's a bold statement, one that can ripple through the locker room in unexpected ways. And when that player is someone as talented and as influential as Morant, the stakes are that much higher. Think about the dynamics at play. Ja is the heartbeat of the Grizzlies, the player who dictates the tempo, makes the highlight reel plays, and carries the expectations of both the franchise and the city. When someone like that checks out, even for a single game, it sends a shockwave. And that's exactly what Draymond noticed. Ja wasn't just having a bad night. He was disengaged in a way that suggested deeper frustrations. It wasn't a lack of effort. It was a lack of alignment. And that's a scenario every team fears. Because alignment between a star player and the coaching staff isn't just important. It's everything. When the star and the system aren't on the same page, everything falls apart. Plays break down, teammates lose confidence, and momentum disappears. Draymond has been there before, both as the star and as a complementary player, and he's seen how quickly tension can escalate. He knows that when you mismanage a superstar's frustration, it can set off a chain reaction that affects every single game, every single practice, and ultimately, the future of the franchise. Draymond also reflected on the psychological side of this. He talked about how, as a player, being suspended can hit your pride harder than anything else. It's not just sitting out a game. It's a public statement that your organization thinks you've stepped out of line. For someone like Ja, who carries immense pressure every night to perform and lead, that kind of statement can sting even more. Draymond made it clear that while discipline is sometimes necessary, there's a delicate balance between accountability and alienation. Cross that line, and you risk losing the player mentally, even if they're physically on the floor. And looking at the game itself, the evidence is clear. Ja's numbers against the Lakers were far below what he normally produces. 8 points on 3 for 14 shooting isn't just a bad night. It's a signal. His body language, the way he passed off the ball, his lack of involvement in crucial moments, it all added up. Draymond described it as a quiet protest. And honestly, when you watch the footage, that's not an exaggeration. This wasn't someone struggling with form or health. This was someone who was mentally distant from the team's plan and direction. It's also interesting to consider how this contrasts with Draymond's own experience. Back in 2022, when he was suspended for the incident with Jordan Poole, he was a supporting star on a team built around Steph Curry. The dynamics were completely different. He wasn't the franchise cornerstone. He was the enforcer, the glue guy, the emotional engine. But he knows the feelings all too well. Being sidelined in any capacity, especially after doing something that's perceived as wrong, can shift your mindset and change how you interact with teammates. He's lived it, so he can empathize with what Ja might be feeling right now. Draymond also highlighted the tricky position Memphis finds itself in. On one hand, they have a superstar whose behavior they need to manage, someone whose public comments and visible frustration could create chaos if unchecked. On the other hand, he's the most important player on the roster, and suspending him could create more problems than it solves. It's a delicate tightrope walk, one that few teams ever navigate perfectly. Draymond suggested that punishing your top player isn't always the solution. It might simply escalate tension and create a disconnect that lingers long after the suspension is lifted. And that's where trade rumors come into play. Once a situation like this reaches the public eye, speculation runs wild. Teams start evaluating their rosters, thinking about potential moves, and wondering if a frustrated star might be available. Draymond didn't confirm anything, but he hinted that the path Memphis chooses could have significant consequences. Will Ja reconcile with the coaching staff and come back fully committed, or will this spark the beginning of a larger split? That's the question everyone's asking. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. In a move that could send shockwaves through the NBA, whispers around the league suggest that Ja Morant, one of the most electrifying young guards in the game, has reportedly agreed to a 4-year deal with the Golden State Warriors. While neither the Warriors nor Morant have officially confirmed the reports, sources close to the situation hint that the deal could redefine the balance of power in the Western Conference. Morant, known for his jaw-dropping athleticism, pinpoint passing, and fearless drives to the basket, has been the centerpiece of speculation ever since trade rumors began swirling earlier this offseason. Golden State, fresh off its championship run, has been linked with several high-profile targets, but the possibility of adding Morant to a roster already featuring sharpshooters and seasoned champions has left insiders buzzing. The union of Morant's explosive scoring ability with the Warriors' ball movement-heavy offense could be a nightmare matchup for any opponent. Fans on social media have already ignited a firestorm of debate, with some calling it the start of a new dynasty in San Francisco, while others question whether the Warriors can afford to make room for such a high-profile acquisition without jeopardizing their core structure. Analysts are dissecting potential rotations, imagining Morant orchestrating the offense alongside Draymond Green's defensive genius, or Steph Curry finding yet another teammate capable of stretching defenses to their breaking point. While the league awaits formal confirmation, the mere possibility of Morant donning the blue and gold jersey has ignited speculation in locker rooms, on podcasts, and across NBA forums. Could this be the ultimate pairing of youth and experience? Could the Warriors be preparing a new era defined by speed, agility, and highlight reel dunks? As whispers turn into heated discussions, one thing is clear. If even half of the rumors hold true, Golden State may be about to turn the NBA upside down. For now, fans will have to stay glued to every update, tweet, and press conference, wondering if the next big headline will finally confirm what everyone's been quietly hoping. Ja Morant, the high-flying guard, is set to take the Warriors dynasty into a new, electrifying chapter. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.